Dun Shows World.
Welcome to Shows World Gamers, Josh here, and once again, it is that time. Another week is drawing to a close, and it's Thanksgiving week. But since it's the end of the week, I wanted to take a few moments to look at some of this week's biggest news stories. And of course, we're going to take a look at some of the biggest gaming announcements from this last week. And we'll end off with this week's biggest video game releases. But do me a quick favor, if this is your first time on the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join in on the fun. Alright gamers, let's kick off this week in review with a few news stories. And we are going to start with Animal Crossing, as Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, the hit mobile game, has officially shut down ahead of its release of, well, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp Complete. Now this is scheduled to release on iOS and Google on December 3rd. The new complete version of the game will be sold at an introductory price of $9.99 until January 30th, when it will go up to its regular price of $19.99. Now, we also received news this week that Sony has reportedly started early development on a new PlayStation-branded handheld console. Though instead of a standalone console like the PSP and Vita, which had their own libraries of games, this will reportedly be a portable version of the PlayStation 5. There has been no announcement, and it sounds like if it does make it to retail, it's still a ways off and could end up being shifted to a PS6 console. Next up, let's take a look at a few gaming announcements. Now, for the second week in a row, we got the announcement of a game being shadow dropped onto the Game Boy library of games on the Nintendo Switch online service. Now, following last week's Donkey Kong Land, this week we actually got Donkey Kong Land 2, which is a kind of light version of the Super Nintendo platformer Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. Now, the question becomes, are we getting Donkey Kong Land 3 next week? But that wasn't all. Just a few days later, we got another Nintendo Switch Online announcement, this time in the Sega Genesis library of games, where we actually got 3 games added to the service. The games included Toe Jam and Earl Panic on Funkatron, the side-scrolling sequel to the original Toe Jam and Earl. We got Vector Man, which is an awesome kind of platformer shooter style game. And we got the top-down arcade style shooter, Mercs. Also, Spindle received an announcement trailer this week. In the indie game, you will be exploring a classic 3/4 top-down style world as you take on classic puzzle-style dungeons. You'll search for lost abilities, fight tricky bosses, and lots more. The game is coming to the Nintendo Switch, joining the PC version of the game, but no release date has been announced at this time. Now, there has been some rumblings of the return of the Virtua Fighter, just awesome fighting game series over the past few weeks, and we did finally get an announcement trailer showing off Virtua Fighter 5 Revo. The game is based on Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, but it adds some new elements like graphical boosts and some fighter balances. Unfortunately, it was only announced for PC with a winter release, with no word on a console release, but I'm sure it's on the way at some point. Now, Don't Wake the Beast received an announcement trailer showing off just a really good-looking 3/4 top-down dungeon crawler. Now, it does feature randomly generated levels and roguelike stealth gameplay. The indie game looks really promising. Although it's only scheduled for a PC release at this time, I'm hoping for info about a console version of the game soon. Alright gamers, let's finish up this week in review with this week's biggest video game releases. And we're going to start with kind of a game from the past. It's kind of become an indie game. It's called Snow Bros. Wonderland. It released this week on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, as well as on PC. This is the newest game in the classic franchise, dating back over 30 years. Now, using ice pellets, you will need to turn monsters into snowballs, which can be kicked to destroy whole hordes of foes. Attacks can be chained to take down multiple enemies at once. And your snowball skills will be put to the ultimate test against some truly massive bosses. And I haven't played a Snow Bros game in a long time, so I might have to check this one out. Now, MXGP24 is an ultra-realistic motorcycle game that uses advanced physics to provide intense riding sensations, while offering user-friendly controls to help beginners. Now, this game, it just looks really impressive graphically, and you can actually play the game right now. It's out on the PlayStation 5, PC, and Xbox Series systems. If anybody plays this, let me know in the comments how it is, because it looks pretty impressive graphically, but I don't know about the gameplay. Now, Raven's Watch released this week as it leaves early access on PC and receives console releases on the PlayStation 5 as well as Xbox Series systems, and it's getting its full PC release also. The roguelike action game has you taking control of fallen heroes of old folk tales and legends in a game that combines some real intense real-time combat and deep gameplay with randomly generated levels to keep the gameplay fresh. Now, 9 Souls released this week on the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series systems, and it was actually a day one release onto Game Pass. And I did download it, but I haven't jumped in and checked it out just yet, but I plan on doing that over this holiday weekend. The game is said to be rich with lore and contains hand-drawn 2D action platforming that is, to me, reminiscent of games like Ori, which, I mean, that's awesome. But it's said to feature kind of Sekiro-inspired deflection-focused combat, so there might be a challenge here. Alright gamers, that concludes this week in review for the week ending on November 29th. The week started with a new, so-called leak claiming the Switch 2 is releasing on March of 2025 with a January announcement, which, while that does sound plausible, the question is whether this is an actual leak or just another prediction. Then Sony dropped a special 30th anniversary website where they claimed the PS2 actually sold 160 million consoles in an attempt to push the most consoles sold line a little further as the Switch closes in. And the week ended with us spending time with family on Thanksgiving and taking advantage of some huge deals on games over Black Friday. But let me know anything we may have missed in the comments, and thanks for joining us today, gamers. Shoge World out.